Hey guys, you're watching IPL5 coverage on Chaotic TV. We are bringing you another match from the winners round 1 of IPL5. In the top left on Ohana we have the purple Zerg playing for Team CaliberLight Esports. It is Vortix playing under the ID Zanmato. His opponent, the bottom right, the pink Protoss. Good luck. Is this faster? Questioning the game speed, I suppose. He plays for Light Esports. It is Caliber with the panda icon, as you don't normally see, but since we're playing on the North American server, this is his ladder account, I'm assuming, and he has won enough games as Protoss, or maybe even as random, to get that, what are they called, reward, decal, as I guess they're called. But CaliberLight got top 44 in an MLG a little while last year sometime, and of course everybody knows Vortix, even though he's not recognizable under the ID Zanmato. He's the brother of Lucifron. Lucifron is a Terran, and Vortix is actually the younger brother. Both of them play for CaliberLight Esports and have made quite the splash in the European scene, taking the 2v2 series, I think it was called the HP Trophy Cup or something like that, and essentially we are looking at the younger brother, who also got top 4 at IEM Singapore, and I won't list off Lucifron's game and achievements because he's not actually playing right now. We're watching his brother Vortix, who did very well in the Blizzard World Championship Series, and we're just going to have to see exactly what he's planning on here. He's sending out a probe. Maybe he's sending it over here to see if there's going to be another pylon block against the first one. So he's actually doing well getting this pool first against the Protoss. It's generally a good idea, but because of these pylon blocks and stuff like that. But we're going to see a second pylon block on the third placement, which is going to keep Vortix from getting any kind of serious economy going by putting down his hatcheries about a minute or two later, depending on how many lings he puts out right now. So he's bringing out only 4 lings. He's continuing to drone up back at home, while Caliber is doing a Forge Fast Expand behind the pylon block, I should say, and is actually going for a gateway before a photon cannon. It's not like these lings are going to run across the map. That would really put Vortix kind of in the clincher, and he would essentially have to only go for an all-in or one base play, which would be called an all-in most of the time. But Caliber, behind this, we have to wonder if after he puts down his cybernetics core, which he's not done yet, spending all his money on the assimilators as opposed to the cybernetics core right away. Some players won't put down those assimilators before they put down the cybernetics core because, granted, you get faster gas with the assimilators, but you also have to wait for that sentry even longer because the cybernetics core takes a while to get in as well. But we're going to see a scouting Zerg, and he's going to see that there's a Forge Fast Expand, but he's already seen it because he's got an Overlord here. He's going to see if there's a photon cannon down. Oh, he already did see that. He's going to see, I guess, if there was a very fast Nexus being taken. I have not seen a lot of Protoss players go for the very fast third. I saw it become meta in GSL for about 2 weeks, and then it kept getting shut down, so people stopped doing it, and they continue to do just this 2-base play on Protoss, which is by no means weak, but you can see how much gas Caliber is building up right now because he has not gotten his cybernetics core down. Now that he has it, we'll probably see a sentry come out of him, or he's just going to keep teching up and do like Stargate or something like that. But he has no pylons on the high ground. He does have one back here. He's probably going to hide a Stargate and start some Phoenix play. Now, granted, Vortix is a European player. He plays on the European ladder, where the metagame is completely different from that of the North American ladder and the Korean ladder. Vortix is going for the triple hatchery to catch up on his economy. He is not teched up at all, so I don't know why I just put all in that. He is not teched up because he has not had the economy to since he was on that one base. He's trying to catch up with this second hatchery. He's taking a little bit of a risk going for the second one. A lot of defensive players will just stay on that 2 hatchery and build up a couple of units, but that doesn't help them in the long run. And since Caliber did so much pressure at the early game, he's probably doing a lot of meching, or not, excuse me, teching back home and trying to gain his average, as we're going to see from this Stargate. And he's going to be able to get out a bunch of Phoenixes most likely and not go for a 2-gate or 2-base all-in. He's going to get a lot of Phoenixes and try to take out these Overlords against the lack of anti-air that the Zerg player has right now. It looks like he's not expecting any Phoenixes because he's not scouted it, or if he has, then he's just forgetting that he needs some Spore Crawlers at home, so we don't see an Evo Chamber out of Vortix up here anywhere. But he has gotten the requisite number of Harvesters to start cooling down on the Harvesters to start building up the number of units, as he will once he gets this layer out and the Roach speed up. Once he gets he's caught up in the supply, of course, and he's continuing to keep going, especially with these 3 queens and semi-perfect injects, as we can see. He's got really low energy on all of his queens, which speaks of a pretty darn good injecting player. Now he gets an Evo Chamber, which is going to help against the Phoenix. Actually, has he built anything out of these? We have a single Void Ray, actually. Interesting. Now he could probably use his Void Ray to clean up the units around the map. It's not going to help him against a Ling-based play, which is all he's got right now, but he has gone for a 3rd base behind this, and that's what those Lings were looking for. They're going to start walling off with just gateways all across here, a couple photon cannons behind it, and he's completely walling off his main base, so he'll actually just kill these rocks and leave a little bit of space over here, which won't actually help him if he gets Baneling busted, which is unlikely, but not impossible. And now, Vortix, excuse me, it's my first cast of the day. They're always a bit slower than the resulting casts afterwards. He's already pulling back all of his Overlords. He needs to get a couple more Spore Crawlers up, especially if he wants to protect all of these, because a Void Ray can actually hurt very misspaced Overlords. He can just kite around the back of this and start poking over here, but a single Queen is actually not that bad against a single Void Ray. If he had 2 Void Rays, he could take out a Queen with some decent micro. But this Void Ray's got 3 kills so far. He's already taken out a number of the Overlords, probably just a couple of Lings here and there. But the 4th base coming from Vortix is actually, it's not bad. It's not early by any stretch. It's early considering he'd been pylon blocked. If he had put this out after a normal 3-base opening, he would be a little bit fine. But we don't see a macro hatch out of him. He's probably actually foregoing a macro hatch in exchange for this 4th base. If he put down a macro hatch right now, he could really ramp up his production, but since he doesn't have the production he needs anyway, he's going for more. Why is he getting a melee? He's getting a whole crap ton of roaches, and I think that's a mistake on his part, not going for missile attacks once. Sorry for breaking my chain of thought. He does have a lot of Zerglings out on the map, so that melee is actually going to help against something like Blink Stalkers or something like... God, I really can't speak today. It's really going to help against Blink Stalkers for something along that tech path, but we are going to see a variety of tech choices coming out of the Protoss player. He's going for double Colossus production, it looks like. These Zealots were not perfectly placed to keep everything out, and if he had continued to run through, he would have had to chase it, but these Stalkers were already placed there. It's actually not too bad by Caliber to be able to fight off this. And now, Vortix is doing something we saw Root Cats do something earlier. He's already putting down a mess of Spine Crawlers, even though he has none of the maxed Roach army that you would expect out of a 4-basing Zerg right now. I mean, he'll put out a ton of Infestors behind this. I actually didn't put out the Root Cats game versus Squirtle because it was so odd, it was not entertaining, so I'm not going to put that one up. If you guys request it, then I'll put it up because I've already cast it, but it was extremely one-sided, unfortunately. The second game, Root Cats was able to pull some semblance of an army together and really start going for a normal type game, and he did a lot better against Squirtle. But in the first game, he did 2 base with Mass, Infestor, and Spine Crawlers, and it really didn't work against the standard playing Protoss of Squirtle, who's got incredible mechanics, and his micro is getting better and better every time we see him. But To speak of these players, they're still playing a very passive game. We're seeing 85 harvesters out of Vortix. It might be that he's going to put down a couple more spine crawlers or spore crawlers behind this, but we see out of the unit count, we see already one Colossus coming from Caliber and a couple of, quite a large amount of infestors already out of Vortix from WnrRnd1 Esports, because he's foregone his roach production and he's continuing to get this +1 melee, which means he might go into Greater Spire. Yes, he is going to go into Greater Spire and Broodlords very quickly. He's going to try to do it before 17 minutes, it looks like, and just use these lings and roaches as buffer, as fodder, essentially. He's going to try to do a little bit of scouting here to know that there's a fourth base. He does. So even if he had run into the fourth base, he could have at least killed a couple of stalkers, maybe forced to cancel if the Colossus reaction wasn't that quick. But he's moving out on the map right now. His creep spread isn't all that terrific, having this many queens this early on. He had 4 queens. He continues to only have 4 queens, which is not something you would see out of a Korean player who would at least have 5 or 6 to continue this creep spread, which is just so prevalent in the Korean games, and it's very, very beneficial to the Zerg army. The spine wall is is evident of the switch into Broodlord tech. He's already got 5 coming out, but he could afford to put down a couple more spines, even if he were putting them down to it could increase his max and just put out a couple more Broodlords. He doesn't actually have as many Corruptors as he would probably need to kill off this Protoss army, especially these Colossi, which are really going to do some damage against the lings and roaches he's got right now. And if he can target fire any of these infestors, he's going to be well off. But the creep spread is pushing towards the 4th base, as is the army of Vortix. He's kind of staying on the creep. This observer saw everything though, and the overseers are going to be able to keep the observer from continuing the spot. Now we see a mothership coming out of Caliber, and it's actually kind of interesting to see that these two players went for max tech as opposed to I'll just jump into the battle here. I'm still kind of frazzled. You can see how much damage is already being delivered by these Broodlords, but there's a lot of supply already been taken out by Vortix with these great force fields. He was able to kill off all of the roaches and Zerglings, and now there is nothing supporting these Broodlords in case of a huge Stalker warp in and blink forward. Does his Stalkers even have blink? Yes, they do, so he could bring in a number of Stalkers and start picking off a couple of these Broodlords. As the remaining Corruptors were turned into them, the mothership is already on its way, and it looks like Light's Caliber, his ID is really messing me up since it's the first time I've seen him, is going to be trying to, see there he's starting to pick off a couple of Broodlords. Continuing to blink forward would confuse these Broodlings a little bit, but now he's only got pretty much Colossi and Stalkers left, so he's going to lose this last Colossus if he doesn't continue to mic that away. A single shot of Broodlings will probably take that out from all of these Broodlords, of course. He's lost his 4th base. He's going to really start building up another one if he can take out this Ling and keep moving away from this very slow Broodlord army, which is not being remaxed with anything but infestors. You can see how much money Vortix has right now. I would actually prefer him to stack on a huge amount of Lings and just do some counterattack, or at least multi-pronged attack against this. And he does actually have a bunch of Lings coming in, which is not a bad thing. He's got to continue his Ling production with a great injects. He doesn't actually have a macro hatch or 2, which he could afford right now. He's going for a continued expansion, which isn't bad. It's just a stylistic choice. And he is using all of these roaches to pick off the Colossi, which are being so annoying to his army right now. Good game, well played. The mothership does not help Caliber in time, nor does the Dark Shrine. And we're going to jump into game 2 between these two players. From Chaotic TV, thanks for watching. Cheers.